Hello, this is Andrew Rochford, host of the Rochford Files on YouTube, and also additional content on the Rochford Files Twitch page. For this next video, it's going to be a bit of a lighter subject to certain degrees as we get into Aaron Rodgers and his current girlfriend, Shailene Woodley, as there's a recent article discussing the dynamics of politics within their relationship. And I'm also going to use that as an opportunity to uh, explain a big part of my hiatus as well in the process. So I'm going to go through the article real quick, then we'll uh, dive into the point that I'll be trying to convey following that. So we'll get that up in full. Shailene Woodley and Aaron Rodgers chose to keep political matters outside of their relationship. The 30-year-old Divergent actress and her Green Bay Packers quarterback fiance, 38, oftentimes agree to disagree on subjects where they don't see eye to eye, a source tells People. They are not talking about their politics, and they never really have, says the source. They disagree on a lot of things. Early on, they agree to disagree about things and not debate them. She is not someone whose mind you can change, so Aaron hasn't even tried, the source adds. Woodley began dating Rodgers in 2020 during the pandemic. The athlete announced their surprise engagement in his acceptance speech when he was named the league's MVP during the NFL Honors broadcast on February 6, 2021. Later that February, Woodley confirmed their engagement, telling late night host Jimmy Fallon, "Yes, we are engaged, but for us, it's not new news. You know, so it's kind of funny. Everyone right now is freaking out over it, and we're like, yeah, we've been engaged for a while." So that was the main point of the article right there. So what I'm about to break down is when you're rich and privileged, like an actress in a one of the top paid quarterbacks in all of the NFL, it's easy to just let political differences slide as opposed to when you're working class and how it's much more important to have a consciousness when it comes to your who you decide to date. And I think for a lot of white people, that consciousness uh, risen up during the Trump era when a lot more people decided to have that be the dividing, decided, not decided, but that was the thing that caused their relationship to fall apart. And I was still a liberal for the majority of that Trump presidency. But the difference was I decided that I wasn't going to fall in line for that if Bernie Sanders didn't win. They pulled some shit on him again. So that's really when the acceleration further left went for me. But the point is, I think that's when it happened because I imagine for a lot of black people, brown people, and a lot of other people of color that they already had that kind of consciousness in their dating because when someone's political views contradict their right to exist, that's a major problem. And for a white person, when one of the people in the relationship just has a take that, oh, is bad when it comes to racial relations. It's kind of just like something that they can agree to disagree since they're both white, and that's just how it's been. And from my personal observations, I feel like most the relationships I can remember where there's people together with clear political differences, that's a white relationship. Once in a while, so those with that aren't involving a white person, those were rare in my memory. But that is one thing that has changed. But the thing is, this is where I'm going to interject my personal perspective is that I, some people talk about uh, closing off people that you don't agree with well enough, but there is a difference. I am not about the red blue game bullshit anymore, but that doesn't mean I have that's an justification to lower my standards and date someone conservative. Because for me, that's highly unlikely to ever work out for me. But the difference is, I'm not going to close off dialogue with people I'm not a, that are not in alignment with me politically. That's a difference. I do sense that when I from people that they aren't even interested in maintaining dialogue with people who don't fit a acceptable range of political beliefs and values. And I'm just not about that from like a acquaintance standpoint. So that's where I'm gonna explain the primary reason why the Rochford Files was on hiatus for over 3 months, and that's because I'm I got divorced. That's mainly it, and I spent a little over nearly a month lame duck status, still living with my ex. Then moved out sooner than I would like. I'm back in the room that I was in as a teenager. If you change the layout of my room, but then I had to spend a few weeks sleeping in the kitchen because there was renovations being done to the bedroom. So that's how I'll describe it. Then pretty much had to uh, catch up on helping out my mom for a bit before I can uh, get back to setting up for streaming again, like uh, getting a new desk ready, uh, setting up my subscription with StreamYard. There will be, I have only done one live stream in the near 3 weeks so far, but I will have more. But back now that I've got that squared somewhat away, I do think it is a pretty privileged position where you can just kind of shrug off politics as it not being a big deal. Just because I can understand I'm more in agreement with the other side of it that if you don't have the values, then you're not, you can't really do anything without other than like a casual hookup. that's just my opinion on it. That since my uh, acceleration further left, that's really happened since the start of COVID. It's really changed how I would feel about women that I would date again. I mean, yeah, because even what I've noticed is even the liberal women probably aren't that much different from conservatives. Uh, that's just purely observation on my part. So that's probably why my perspective is going to change in that aspect going forward when that time happens. But I would feel pretty similar to how I would feel for a serious relationship. I guess the standards would be higher on that part. And that's what Aaron Rodgers and Shailene Woodley's relationship, uh, jumping back to them specifically, because Aaron Rodgers has been uh, getting attacked lately for his anti vax stance, in addition to him starting to become more politically outspoken because it during the Trump era, Aaron Rodgers was not a very politically outspoken guy. During the national anthem protests that really uh, kicked up when Trump was at a rally in 2017, and he said to if he saw a kneeling player to get that son of a bitch off the field, and I remember Aaron Rodgers saying around that time that he just really took an extremely neutral stance on that. And just based on my memory, it feels like most of his Trump era political takes were extremely neutral and not really taking a strong stance one way or another. But for some reason, the vaccine discourse has emboldened him to take a stronger stand on that part. How even though people are treating him just like a Trumper, and Joe Rogan gets that in a very similar way as well. But the thing is, it's not really proven. I think people make leaps of assumptions with certain celebrities' politics when they're not proven, and I'm the type of person in my analysis is until it's proven and clear that we that to not take the criticisms to that point, and that's why he's suddenly getting a lot of attention right. But this type of agree to disagree, we can live with those political differences. A very popular white stance from what I've noticed. It feels really previous generation type of thing, back when the politics was a thing you just weren't open about talking about. And now we're in a generation where people are very, very open about politics. In fact, the apolitical types are less known. So, and for those people who didn't consider that a big deal, they were from the era that really shunned political discourse. And this is why we got more people who are taking more of a stance and wanting some semblance of a pretty to be a pretty close political match in their relationships, and I very much understand it. And as a leftist, I just know that it just makes the dating pool for me much harder. And when you try to mix in your other interest, it complicates things even more. Like, I'm a leftist that's into sports as well, so, and I find that the just observing that the women who match more just flat aren't into sports, but the most women that do like sports in the way I do are definitely to my right. So that's just, and when you have that secondary interest as well, in addition to the leftist politics, then that just is going to complicate things depending on what that second interest is. But I think this overall shows what we've been, the trend that has been unveiling for the past few years when it comes to dating and politics in this era.